Hey, welcome to another episode of Local Marketing Beat brought to you by Overall. My name is Christian Hustle, and in this episode, or today's mission is to master restaurant marketing, which we've actually maybe done one other episode on restaurants, so a super exciting topic. And for that, Rev, who is very well known, a renowned hospitality marketer, is joining us today. He has well more than 20 years of experience in digital marketing, specializing in hospitality, more specifically the restaurant industry. And I had the pleasure to meet him earlier this year at a Google event at the Google office in New York City. Welcome to the show, Rev. It's very exciting to have you here.
Thank you, Christian. I appreciate that very much. By the way, master restaurant marketing, I've yet to find the person that can do that, considering how it changes every single day. Let's try.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's wild out there. And I really was curious because I heard that you are the expert burger tester. How did that happen? What's the story behind that? How did you start doing that?
That's a long story that I'm going to shorten as much as possible. So in a very long time ago, I used to write one of the world's top 3 hamburger blogs. And I've been on probably 17 different TV shows as a burger eater. And I have a very good friend who's very well known. He's the world's leading hamburger historian. His name is George Moats. He has some books out about hamburgers. He owns a hamburger restaurant in New York City. But he used to have a show on the Travel Channel, and he would go to different towns in America and he would explore like some of his favorite burgers. And then in the last segment of the show, he would find like a local burger Sherpa, like somebody who lived in the town, to take him to eat a burger he'd never had. And he called them EBTs, expert burger tasters.
Oh.
And he called me and he goes, "Hey, Rev, you're going to be my EBT in New York City," which is where George is from. So I was like, hold on, you just gave me like the most impossible task ever. The world's leading hamburger dude asked like the other hamburger dude to find an amazing hamburger in the town where the burger dude lives. I was like, what burger have you not eaten in New York City? And I found this really weird Hungarian tavern in Brooklyn that was doing these deep fried burgers in Hungarian lavoshes. And we went there. George was like, this was incredible. Like, we took Mayor Bloomberg. It was crazy. But anyway,
wow.
He's like, you are now officially an EBT. And I was like, I'm going to own that. I'm an expert burger taster.
That's awesome. That's a much better story than I expected. I thought you were going to say something like, it just came up with one day. I came up with it by myself. Cool.
No,
Very
and
cool.
then it got, I'm going to take the story one step further. It actually got cemented. There's an entire episode of Cake Boss about me. And when they put me on the screen for the first time, the Chiron says expert burger taster.
Well, now I need to Google that. I need to find
so
that
it's real, and I didn't just make it up.
Real. Yeah, not self-named. I like it. Now, I saw you work on different projects with different brands. You have your own company, everything in the hospitality/restaurant industry. And as you wear many hats, right, as entrepreneur and marketer and strategist, can you describe a little bit for our audience, how do you bring value to brands, multi-locations, and franchises? What is it that you have been working on for the last several years?
My goodness. Okay, so I'm a hospitality marketing consultant. Most of my clients are multi-unit restaurants, a few single units, and essentially I'm like a fractional CMO.
Okay.
So, they're running well. They need to run better. They have lots of questions about marketing. They're not sure what to do. The only experience they have is their own. They bring me in, and then because I have lots of experience and I've worked with lots of brands and I own my own restaurant, I'm kind of in everybody else's marketing. So
Gotcha. I'm
kind of like a collection of best practices. And I do task myself with like being a constant state of learning. And I go to, like I met you, I go to 12 to 14 trade shows and conferences a year. So I'm always learning. I'm always asking. I'm always seeing what other people are doing. So I'm kind of like a collection of best marketing practices, right? And then because I have my own restaurant, I can test anything I want. So like if I have a really crazy idea for a rewards, win back program, or I want to test what it's like to, spend more on search CPC for catering ads. Like I got a Petri dish. So the value I bring, and this is sort of my brand promise, is that you'll never wonder what to do with your marketing again. I will always have the answer. And if you ask me the question and I don't have the answer, I'll go find it faster than anybody else. So
right.
Maybe that's
awesome.
A really high level of saying, I know what to do next.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you've done it many times, right? And with your own brands and consulting. How, I'm very, very curious to hear your perspective on how has things changed and evolved from word of mouth to reviews to now AI, right? Because we're on a previous episode, we're talking about AI picking for the consumer. How does that apply on your side of the thing, right? On your vertical for restaurants? Are you seeing that or do you expect that to happen?
I've been asked this question a lot lately, so thank you for asking it. I don't think the majority of the population is opening up ChatGPT and going, "Where should I get hot wings tonight?" So I don't think we're there yet. I still think that's a search function. I still think that's a Google, Yelp, Bing, Yahoo, Foursquare, maybe Instagram, TikTok function. I don't know that AI is really playing in there. However, AI is watching the results of all those searches, right? And so when you go into Google now, instead of getting like the snippet, you're getting the AI bubble, right? I don't know what they're calling it, but that's an AI based answer. But the answer is really more based on your query, right? But I also don't think there's a lot of people searching best hot wings near me with gluten-free sauce, and can I take my kid, and is the owner from Ecuador? Like, I just made that up. But my
Right.
point is, like, I don't think that like AI is changing dining habits from search yet. Okay. I do believe that people are going into ChatGPT, probably a little more than Gemini, and saying, "Hey, we're going to Orlando next week, and we're going to do 2 days at Disney, and we're staying at the Holiday Inn Express. Like, where else should we eat, and what else should we do in Orlando?" I believe that's happening. I did a 2-week road trip earlier this summer. Literally, I plotted the entire course in ChatGPT. "Hey, ChatGPT, I'm going to these 4 towns. I'm going to baseball games in these towns. I want to go to diners, old school burger joints, salt of theirs, hot dog stands. Like, can you plot some out for me?" So I do believe that's happening. And so that's, I don't know, that's really evolution of word of mouth, but I do think that's where AI is at for consumers when it comes to discovery of restaurants, right? So then the question is, how do you become the answer, right? And so I really, I've asked a number of people about this. Nobody has said, "Oh, this is the do step 1, do step 2, 3 thing." But the answer I'm getting from most people, you have to tell me if you've heard different, is it's kind of like listings management is still like the thing, right? So if your listings are managed and if you're replying to reviews and there's some articles out there and your site is HTML based, like sort of like the same things that you would do to optimize local search are kind of what the best practices are right now. Have you heard differently?
No, I mean, yeah, I think you're spot on. I would just add a couple other things that seem to be very important, but at the same time, they have always been important. They were just being avoided, right? That was exactly what we were talking in the previous episode. It was schema, one of them. So like, schema has been around for the whole SEO time. A lot of brands didn't adopt it, right? They thought it's good to have, right? But it's okay if I don't. Well, now AI really likes schema, so now it's becoming a necessity. But what you just said is what we keep hearing from everyone, is what we keep seeing on experiments as well. So I think you hit it right on the nail on the nose, because that is what seems to be working and what AI agents seems to be liking. And
Yeah, I
and you
think
just
reputation management is probably actually digitally more important than it ever has, because I do think people are like, "What do you know about this restaurant?" And so that query is going to go look at reputation. That query is going to go look at like what people are putting on social media. So that's really like, tell me what people are saying about this place is different than who comes up ranked highest for hot wings in my neighborhood.
Yeah, and I remember I did a couple of trips as well the last 2 summers, and it was just 100% AI, where I wasn't as specific into burgers, but mine were more like, "Hey, bring in my 2 stepsons. One of them likes this, video games, the other one likes anime. I like cars, so build everything around that," right? And one of them was in Tokyo, so it found me like the perfect activity to drive around. It was awesome. Like this is
That's
like
amazing.
we did things that I probably could not find on my own, right? And this was so much quicker. You were talking about the consumer journey and how the discovery, right? When you're trying to find a restaurant, maybe not we're not there with AI, but what are some of the trends that you're seeing even when we just look at traditional search on Google and Google Maps? What are people paying the most attention to as consumers when picking a restaurant? Like, what are some of those factors that you think is like, you need to take care of these?
Man, that's a complicated question.
We like complicated questions
Yeah,
here.
no, it's okay. Cause here's the thing. A question that like that would beget a single answer. They're looking for this thing.
Right.
And the truth is that that's not the case, right? Because search and discovery is a journey. right? And so I'm going to give you a simple example. Okay, so you and I are hanging out, we're in a meeting or whatever, and I happen to tell you that like I'm really into like barbecue, and you'd be like, "Oh my god, I know this amazing barbecue restaurant. You got to check it out. The guy smokes his brisket every day. They do these tacos for lunch. They have a bunch of cool craft beers, and they have like an entire playground for kids." Like, oh wow, that sounds amazing. Okay, so my journey started with a friend's recommendation. Okay. What's the next thing I do? I go to search. Patrick's Barbecue. I'm making this up. Patrick's Barbecue, North Jersey, blah, blah, blah. So now it's a search function. So now I got to make sure that you're optimized for like, maybe I spelled it wrong. Did I have the name wrong? Is it in my town? Like, it's a search thing. So what happens then? I go look at the menu. I go look at photos. I go look at reviews, right? And if the food looks good, if the menu matches what you told me, and like they have gluten-free items for my friend that I'm bringing with me, or chicken nuggets for my fussy 9-year-old, right? I might go look at the reviews. What are people saying? Oh, it's got a 4.7 rating. Everybody seems to like this place. It must be good. Okay. Everything that I just did confirmed what you told me, except now what do I do? Well, I'm not going to go right now because you just told me about it. I'm going to save it to a map, or maybe I'm going to go look on Instagram and I'm going to follow them. Like I'm going to take a next step, or I'm going to get directions, something like that. And so now already there's been like 7 digital touch points, right? I can keep going with this example. My point is like, it's not a single thing, right? I think it's making sure that your brand is managed in all of the places along the customer journey. So Google, Yelp, Bing, Yahoo search, right? Making sure that like you have good reviews, making sure that like your photos online represent your brand, making sure that like your social media is up to date. Like it's a lot of digital maintenance, doing the right things consistently. And like, I talk about like the foundations of marketing, and these are like foundational. Having a really interesting TikTok meme doesn't matter if you haven't done all the stuff we just talked about, right? So like, again, I don't think there's a single answer, but for sure, the discovery portion starts at like online, and it starts like in the listings universe, Google, Bing, Yelp, Yahoo, Foursquare. You know what I mean? And then restaurants all the time, even enterprise ones, will talk to me about the importance of social media, and they talk about it as though it's an acquisition tool, and it's not. It's a retention tool, because nobody follows a restaurant on Instagram unless they've either eaten there or they plan to, right? So again, the same example you tell me about Ralph's Rib Shack. I'm going to go follow it so I remember to go there later. But otherwise, like, I'm not like picking up Instagram and be like, best hot wings near me. Like, people don't do that. However, where it's important is, again, you tell me about Ralph's Rib Shack, right? And that they have a kids playground and great brisket and craft beers, whatever. If I go to Instagram and I don't see that in like the top 9 or 12 posts, you lost.
Right.
Right. Because what I'm looking for in that piece is I want your social media to confirm what I heard or what I read in a review or what I saw in a commercials. Again, it's kind of ecosystem based.
And
Was
it's a
that it?
very
Was it?
interesting. Yeah,
Did
I
that
think
did that answer the question?
you definitely did, because it is not it's not even a step by step. Even if you had a list of 10 things, it is not a step by step, and it's not a one answer either, right? So I think you got it exactly right. I mean, it's a matter of what I was going to also bring up, right, at the same time, is it also depends on your audience, right, or your target market. We had a guest recently that she was all over TikTok, right? She searches everything on TikTok, versus me as a millennial, I don't, right? I Google and Google Maps. So it just depends as well, like, and I think specifically for restaurants, you may be targeting a wider demographic. It's not just for kids between 25 and 30, right? You probably have a wider targeting that requires a lot more platforms versus like home services, right? The home services, they only target specific adults that are homeowners. It's a little bit different. But to your point, I think this is where AI came to change, but it also added another platform to, not that you're taking care of optimizing, but it's giving the consumer another way to find you, right? Another, you have to care about it, you have to figure it out, you have to at least keep it in mind, is what I would think. And I mean, everything on AI, and talking specifically about ChatGPT, keeps changing. Like you said, right? It's crazy. I'm very interested, like in e-commerce, products are showing on your results, right? I wonder if one day there's going to be a buy now button. I wonder if that's coming for restaurants where, hey, I'm looking for, specifically wings for tonight. Here's the 3 options. Just order now. I was like,
I don't foresee a future where that's a major part of it because I think
Okay.
purchasing requires so much more research. Like,
Yeah.
if I search best pizza near me, you're going to laugh. I live in a town in North Jersey of 18,000 people. We have 7 pizza places.
Wow.
How number 6 and 7 decided this was the right town to open one, I don't know. But my point being is, like, even at that point, like, if the best pizza near me, like, a button there is not enough. I need to see reviews. I got to see photos. Like, there's more to it than that.
Yeah, and I would be curious, honestly, because it's up in the air, right? The judge is out on this one, but people are really trusting these recommendations from AI. So I would be curious to see if all what we're used to, all the research that we have been doing for the last several years, will consumers ever just trust AI and say, "Oh, if ChatGPT is saying this pizza place is the way to go, I'm just gonna go with it." Do you think eventually we could get there?
We're definitely going to get closer. That's for sure. You know what I mean? Like, I've read stats that say people trust recommendations on Yelp and Google more than they trust their friends. So,
Right.
like, I mean, is that A or not? I don't think it matters, but it's
Yeah.
strangers, right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't think I'm going to go, hey, ChatGPT, who's got the best wings in Rutherford? And it's going to go this place. I'm like, okay, good. I'm good. There's always another step. Food menus, like, that's why the whole, like, listings ecosystem is so important, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, here at Overall, we pitch or we practice a tactic called LPO, right? As location performance optimization. I'll give you the quick rundown. Just doing local SEO is not enough, like you said, right? There's reputation, there's social, there's so many things that you need to take care of. And that's where LPO has its pillars, right? So we talk about visibility, driving engagement, conversion, and things like that. What are some of your recommendations to help restaurant brands when it comes to, let's talk about, start with visibility, for example. What are some of the ones that you say, oh, we got to start doing this if you are not doing it today?
How much time do we have? So, yeah, assuming a restaurant of any size is actually practicing listings management, that might actually be a big assumption these days, is I would start by like, okay, did you miss the fine details of listings management, which primarily for restaurants is menu. So like
Yes.
if you don't have your menu in listings management, like if you don't have your menu in Google, Yelp, and Yahoo, like you totally missed the boat. And we had, I don't know if they said it at the Google session you and I met at.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, but they literally said to us, no, 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 and they call it dish search. Dish search is like the preeminent deciding factor for how a restaurant gets service, other than like name, location, reputation, right? So like if both me and Christian own pizza places on the same street and your menu is not on listings and mine is, the chances of mine coming up higher for dish search is pretty certain, right? So like from that perspective, it's like, well, if your name, address, phone number, hours of operation are correct, is your menu on there? Is really like sort of the secret sauce to that piece of it, you know? And then not a lot of people talk about this and I don't know why. And I've asked Google and they haven't said yes, but I got like the nod and a wink. One of the most important things is actually listings maintenance, right? And so Google and search in general is built on a system of, I'm going to air quote, trust, right? Google trusts that your business is the right answer to somebody's relevant question. Best wings near me? Oh, this place. Okay. And the way that, again, earn air quotes trust, there's a million factors. But one of them is if you essentially log into your listings once a month, it sends a signal to Google and Yelp and Yahoo that it's an actively managed account. And
Hmm.
therefore it's, again, air quotes, trustworthy. So if you're not doing something in your listings once a month, you're also missing the boat on earning some trust. And so that could be as simple as like adding a photo, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or replying to a review. Active listings management is like a really important part of that most people miss the boat on. And when I start working with a client, it's one of the first things I look at. Are listings correct? Are listings accurate? Are we actively inside it? Are we replying reviews? Because if you're not doing that, like, it doesn't matter how funny your TikTok dance is. Like,
Hmm.
nobody can find the restaurant.
I would
Also,
be curious.
I don't dance on TikTok.
Yeah, that's good. Do you eat burgers on TikTok, though, is the question.
Oh, I dress up as mascots and go to minor league baseball games. I just don't dance. So,
I would be curious, all these clients that you're consulting with, as you come into the brands, how many actually have never touched listings and they're not doing even the basics? Is it a big percentage that you're surprised?
no, it's a very low percentage, but there's like a filter here that we need to keep in mind. Like, people find me. I kind of get referrals from my business by word of mouth. One restaurant tells another restaurant, or they happen to run into my LinkedIn newsletter or whatever, and they see it. And so if you are looking for help with marketing, it's a little bit of a self-selection process, right? And so somebody who's not doing listings management at this point, like, is probably not looking for my type of help. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
if the question is, are most clients that I'm working with optimized for the listings? No, that's like a, maybe 1 out of 3 are. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
And so let's flip that on its head a little. If you're listening to this podcast or this broadcast somewhere, you're watching the video, it's possible that your listings are not optimized, right? It's really possible. If you don't have somebody like Christian or an Uberall or somebody like me that like has spent ridiculously stupid amount of hours understanding how the Yelp algorithm works, like, you're probably not optimized. And it's actually really easy.
It really is easy, which is that's why I was curious to hear your answer, because of how simple and easy it is nowadays. But it's shocking that a lot of brands are not on top of it, right? It's not top of the list when it should, right? We're talking about visibility. This last 25 minutes, we have been talking about that. So what do you think is one of the biggest struggles for restaurants, for a restaurant brand on the marketing side? What are you seeing they struggle the most with?
Consistency. Like, doing the right things at the right pace, the right way, the right amount of times. There's actually a really simple ecosystem for consistent restaurant marketing that involves about 11 channels, which sounds like a lot, but it's not, that even the biggest brands don't master. And I tell restaurants all the time, I would rather see you send a weekly newsletter on Tuesday mornings than try to figure out segmentation and automation and all these other BS things with email. Like, you're going to get way more out of a single image with a clickable button and a headline sent to your entire database every Tuesday at 10 a.m. than you are a lot of other fancy dancing if you're not doing that, right? Same thing with social media. Like, do I need to have the greatest Instagram reel of all times every day of the week? Like, no, I just need to show up, right? Like, you go look at like Popeyes or McDonald's, like, they're posting like every other day or every other couple of days. Consistency is more important. And if you go look, like, I follow Adam Mosseri, he's the CEO of Instagram. He has said a number of times on his personal Instagram profile that consistency is the thing that the algorithm rewards the most, showing up. And so what's the executable of that look like? I would tell any brand of any size, whether you're a single unit operator or you're Applebee's, right? What is the level of consistency that you can continue to do? Then do that. And so if it's like, using Instagram as an example, if you can post twice a week, then post twice a week, but don't go away for 2 weeks. If you could post 7 times a day, well, then post 7 times a day, but don't post 7 times a day if you can't do that forever. Like, figure out what the consistency of marketing rhythm you can manage. That's the key.
That's awesome. It was a really good point. Hey, Rev, I just want to thank you for your time, for joining us today. I honestly have so many more questions that we could probably take 2 hours here on this episode. Try to keep them to the core minimum just so that we could cover more ground. But before we wrap up, I would really like our listeners to, learn how can they connect with you, follow your work, or reach out, right? If there's restaurant brands listening to this episode, how can they connect and find you?
Thank you for asking, and thank you for having me on the show. I have the same screen name on every single platform, Ciancio. So you go to TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Ciancio, send me a DM. What I would tell you probably the best bet is I do a weekly newsletter on LinkedIn where I share marketing tricks, and why can't I say this? I have a forwarding link. It goes right to my LinkedIn. So it's restaurantsplural.grow.tv. Subscribe to my newsletter. I literally every single week answer questions like this. So give my frameworks. Awesome. Here's how to run a rewards program. Here's what to do with influencer marketing. Here's my Instagram playbook. Like, just go follow that.
And I'm assuming is very consistent, right?
Every single Thursday, sometimes a Wednesday, sometimes a Friday, but once a week.
Awesome.
In fact, I published one 2 hours ago. So there you go.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, again, great to get a chance to connect. If you made it this far into the video, please go check out the Overall Academy to get LPO certified completely free. It's academy.overall.com. And with that, we'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.